My name is Paco Rich, and then I've embarked on a journey to unveil or to find out some history, things that we usually don't really care about, or we don't have the right people to educate us. Today, I find myself in the middle of one of the greatest forts in Africa. It's called Fort Williams. It was built by the British. But I have a great man here who will talk to me, or who is going to have a great conversation with me about the true history behind this fort. A little bit about stuffs in the central region, about slave trade, and about a lot of things that happened. Mostly you hear about Cape Coast Castle, Elmina Castle, but you forgot to ask about Fort Williams, which is located at Anomabo. Today, I'm here with one great man, Mr. Yosin. He has the facts. He saw many things happening, and he will tell us what we need to know, not what we've been told. Wait for me, I'll be right back. Welcome back from that quick break. My name is Paco Rich, and today one of the greatest forts of Africa called Fort Williams. Fort Williams is located Anomabo. Anomabo, from my research, I was told that was discovered by a hunter who saw a bird on a rock. And we all know that in our Fanta language, the rock is called Obo, and the bird is called Anoma. So, it was so right for them to merge it to call it Obonoma, but Yarkwa, the name changed and it became Anomabo. I have Mr. Yosin here, who is a great historian, obituarying a lot of stuffs that we don't know. Certain words, how it was merged, how certain names came up. Obituarying in our Mr. Yosin, since Yaba back home. This is Fort Williams. Anomabo no war. Let's go through that. Purpose I would see. And then some of the events that will take place were history. Take us through.
Yo Madasi. Fort William, the amazing Markan was built by the British in 1753. This was purposely for the slave trade. Built by one John Appeley, who also built Plymouth Dockyard in England. Nti nya obesi fort no. Ona so na ekwa England a you be ofan Plymouth Dockyard. Dam dockyard no. Ona so no see. The British themselves refer to the fort as the Buckingham Palace on the Gold Coast. Onam sika wazi sea. It cost almost about 13,493 English pounds to build the fort. Until now, British if one for fort to know one things are good. To them American purposely for the slave trade. Therefore, it was used to buy slave for 112 years, and the fort alone shipped almost about 280,000 slaves to the Caribbean islands and to the American cities. It's a years honor to in China. Sentra Pochia Oma Yenti Fort William Ninkampi na visitors tourists nazi Wolfington Robertson called Cape Coast and Elmina is that the fort was converted to a prison. In Breweje there we used the forts and castles for the slave trade, you know. They needed new purposes. So Fort William was converted to a prison. Likewise, Elmina Castle was converted to a police recruit training center. On the Fort William was a prison in visitors were not allowed to come here. That started from 1962 up to 2000. For good 38 years, that Fort William lost its visitors, historians, tourists, and everybody. Tourists were trooping to Cape Coast and Elmina instead of coming here. But it's a Yerkan. Anka Fort William Ana Anomabo. When we go deep into the slave trader, Anomabo was the largest slave trading center on the Gold Coast during the slave trade era. And Mabu alone supplied almost about 464,000 of the slaves, as against 381 and 255. 381 at Cape Coast and 255 at Elmina. But onam there was a higher prisons in Inti. Onti in onam duma yenti for William.
Great. Great delivery. I think I was a bit surprised when I heard that I was a prison for so many years. The year 2000, and what Jai had was a prison. If I stand to be corrected, Baban or what Johnny Jakumku for the time. Do you have any information as to why they decided not to use this place as a prison again?
According there, na onam tourism no. Na some of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, some akadama ochede, ye mami na ye papa no no obo fo ho no nkwaso mu ko America and Caribbean no, where mumba. We refer to them as brothers and sisters of diaspora. Wash I see the woshu ho nature. Na ehon na woshu man no wo they take their roots from the Gold Coast, you know. So what bahana wo better the forts and castles now wasn't one mami na one papa no gum as slaves, you know. Say yanka say is a prison centers are. Yezi yanka say ye ni nuanum yezi one gum as prisoners are. Na was yell. Nti ehon wakasem na protest from governmental organizations and one so one boa no nom doma we prisons no was fiha.
Great. And I think they did well because it didn't sound well there. Sebi what's a higher waton nyimpa waha wama nyimpa fa yaw. I mean, people went through pains and stuffs here, and still we have to bring our own black people to make them prisoners in this fort. It didn't sound so well. Now, what I want to know in the process in the slaves in what form, I would like to know the procedure and what the slaves in what form, roots are what form, what the ban, what bodu, or ye anomabo, and another even medium. Then they were transferring them to overseas and the Caribbean and the islands and all those. How was the whole procedure like? Slaves were there slaves from Anomabu or from our coastal areas? And they were coming from other parts of Ghana. And now why you didn't put what tonguanum? One of them then will lead the business and some of the activities are what baha or kodoa. Ibinye baze.
Ebinye de maka ekona na mezin kan maka ekona na what for do na wonya slaves no.
Okay.
O send that to the American. So many people have the idea that the slaves, most of them came from the coastal area.
Okay.
But on to them, ebinum butumu afi coastal area, but ye wakon beye e basa na wofado wonya slaves no.
Okay.
The first one were those who were forcibly captured by the Europeans themselves.
Okay.
Due to wars and confrontations with the local inhabitants.
Okay.
Now, on them the one war ammunitions are now during wars and confrontations, you know, they always overcome the blacks, the black people. And so through that, you know, some of them were forcibly captured as prisoners.
Okay.
The second one was the many wars that engulfed the Gold Coast during the time of the Kingdom era. Samika Kingdom era. In the time in the 16, 17, 18, no, there were the kingdoms. So we had Ashanti Kingdom, Fanti, Wassa, Ekropon, Denchira, Chebi. When you go to the north there, we have them so many over there. Volta, we have them. And there were wars between these kingdoms for supremacy. And so after the wars, all those who were captured as prisoners of war became automatic slaves. For example, one such war between the Ashantis and the Fantis in 1806 yielded almost about 2,000 prisoners of war in Fort William, and these 2,000 prisoners of war became automatic slaves. Then we had those who were brought by the indigenous to barter for the manufactured items that were brought by the Europeans.
Okay, let's go much into that. Chedenhara Timemu, from people that lived at the coast could capture their fellow people in exchange for ebaze.
The capture, but mostly from the coast, I want to wasn't one, we refer to them as stubborn children. And you know from us, children from 10 to 14 years.
Okay.
Most of these children were referred to as stubborn children.
So
in my from when I saw years in a locality, Obotum was one assassin, was one abassan in Zama. In Mara.
Okay.
Ibia for the chiefs, the time now police stations in the cells were in the chief's palaces.
Okay.
In Simonfan there, Obia one, Nessa way jail now. Whilst in the chief palace, if there is any chance for him to sell him as a slave, it's so easy for the chief to sell him as a slave.
Sharp.
Yes.
Ona me pede mu hu de nyimpa de senyina na nya ye nkofu ya ya ache wonen ebibifo ni bi nankasa botum de na akọ na wakaje nyama bi tida baadze in exchange of what?
In exchange for manufactured items like the clothings, household utensils,
with
rum and wine.
Wine, you exchange wine with human beings.
Oh, of course.
Squash na azaka.
There were no squash in those days.
And
that comes to that goes with the provisions.
Okay. Provisions in Chade. Obitumi jinimpa or the nekasasa sardine.
Of course, sardine, tina, pa, corned beef, and or other likes. Namoya your there. All these items were in the 20th century found out to be expired goods.
Let me explain this bit. What we are, having discussion about was how our own natives exchanged human beings with sardine provisions, clothes, and I learned even mirror. Yes, they were exchanging human beings with all these things. It's quite sad. It's quite sad. But he will tell us more. A lot of things happened at Fort Williams. Mr. Yosin is here to tell us more and more about what happened here.
I say, you can't tribal wars, yes, the baby back there, raiders. So me can raiders and would I film be apocalypto?
Yeah.
We saw how the other people went raiding on the smaller village.
Yeah.
Into raiders as far north as Chad, Burkina Faso,
yeah,
Mali, Niger, they could raid slaves over there, walk on foot through the northern region down to the coast.
We've really been through a lot as black people. And then based on this, I think it is time for us to treat black people with honor and dignity. Because if in the past, an expired sardine, an expired Milo, an expired wine, because we had no idea about even reading of dates and barcode, they could gladly give us a box of sardine for human beings, kids. Probably some of them would have been future leaders. It all went on at Fort Williams. Mr. Yosin, let's go on.
And to confirm it,
Yeah.
In Bramankasa me Afro,
Yeah.
Today I'm making a home Elmina,
Yeah.
In Elmina Castle.
Yeah.
And I had friends, my classmates, Strongbow, Abudu, Adiga. They were all my classmates. Their fathers were policemen.
Yeah.
So I used to frequent myself in the castle. And usually my grandmother would warn me, "Hey, Kobna, in a sort of castle, someone for bet you. I almost in a was so easy. Send canon, come as a catch milk.
Ow. 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 It is hilarious.
The member not munjun crazy.
Yes. It is hilarious that his grandmother told him that if he was back in those days, I would have exchanged you for a tin of milk. Because by then, in a slave trade business was at its peak. Yet some come up there. And now worry about was one fasten for so baby or one na semi be quado.
On an American who said was one fee Chad and one a Burkina Faso as one was one rubber. And we don't know one have permanency and we don't want.
Yeah.
Aha. I mean they could undertake the journey for almost about 6 to 7 months.
Which includes both a man and Benin. In chains.
In chains.
And then they will travel for 6-7 months.
They will travel for 6
from the northern side of Ghana to the southern. So what goes on like?
Only the more go on in there. Today, what do baby na say? Ibia, impobia na ekutubia na bibi na waso wa. What to be easy? No worry ba. What do baby ibia a brewer na bibi wa. What to be so bonu ya wa ya. No worry ba.
So, maybe say journey net today. Worry ba. Abrofuni become.
I want this on abrofuni nkan ho.
Wan kon ben yara yan kofuna.
Readers no.
No, what was your one?
Readers?
Intimable, dami chance na adina na wodi Google one ansan.
For that place no we use the chain.
Okay.
We use ahoma.
Inti was the normal ahoma na wodi chiching.
Because one kasa wa capture.
Okay.
Inti wa inya ho wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, we inkita second, inkita BBA.
Okay.
And we masters no one worry about no one wukita second, and one wukita BBA. Inti inya wasn't and one boss struggle because him then you won't struggle. Ibe ubokun. Inti abe ya wadwin there or tedina krapa. Eboko. Ibia enyim there, ibia uboko a chill them. Inti at least abe ya willing there and you won't boko. But as you go on, then you are coming. Aha.
Inti waba wobodu ya ehwana asenfo suwana. What happens there?
Waba you will be to the Salaga slave market.
Okay.
What you want home?
Okay.
But asan mansun.
Okay.
Aha. Ehwana you what the slave stream.
Okay.
Ana non consio. Aha. Nti eho na wabaji wan home. No we gwa. Na we diti. Ansana merchants from the coast. And also wakoho. And when they yesterday was the minimum sanction. It was not on the coast, but the coastal people will send the salt to Asen Manson.
Ow.
In other things, I wasn't one of the song. No waka for no. No one was the one I brought from. I was Fort William.
It's quite sad. Let's cut the journey. What's that don't comfortable to Fort Williams? How long in the work keeping one waha? What Daniel? Woman when it's a banana. What's in Bessiafunu go baby different? What's in Mayfunu go baby different? What goes on in Fort Williams?
Mpochom Dasi. Say was one by Fort William. We found the West in Kansas one by courtyard. There was a resident doctor. And the resident doctor no ni nejumo by any day. Obo hwehwe there slaves no wo wa hozen yerbe bia anyu hono mu, and that is their first step. The ehono wo go through oche there yerbe bia anyu hono mu no ehon na abrofo no ba prefer there wo boto hon nyo na ehon a ibi abrofo no bo hu there wo yere ana bibi dam no onam there ehon no you are still with your native master ninti. You will go with your native master. Inti the member no more by there. Memfan there wa capture obi was Salaga ana child who ana bibi them when you know about coast. When to Mwanko, he just be part of the inhabitants of the village. Inti se eba coast ha. Adeni pi wo ho a ibi wo ho na or nothing name.
Yeah.
Because make the echo baby to the Edna Bantuma, if you be watch your Niger house.
Okay.
And they trace their roots to Niger. And the ancestors came during the slave trade and they couldn't go back. And so they settled there. Inti ebe coast ha, ye bohu adeni pia, watch your ezin bia unreferred to the coast. Most of the inhabitants of this building's parents or ancestors might come through the slave trade. He couldn't do the journey, and so he stayed here. And when we passed through the test, and when we bottom honama abrofuno, na etonomo me there, and with the money was not in the system in the beginning.
Yes.
And so today, mama kana, and we hina no was one sensama BB. Until the 1700s, when money was inverted into the system. On what shall I say the word to be in 5 English pounds, in the Messiah for 3 English pounds.
How come there in the beginning pricing oil high, not urbana pricing you low? In my sense, women reproduce. In Benyufun they don't produce. So I feel that the woman pricing should be a bit higher. Another nanka was one kay a drumazinity.
Meda say masam na no amo.
Marameya.
No. Onam de menyimfo no woko wo be ye dwumaziniti. Aha. Inti na ho no wo bo no owo so no. Na ehwemu kra pa menyimfo no na woto hon more. Nyo. Because I want to work on a waka ye dwuma.
There were speculations another yanyim. You had to say there. And now, when you a man be da, was it a bibifuna or hana when you wanted da nada brofuna when you wanted da?
A bibifu slaves in a day. Well, you don't have a chance to come to the courtyard. You will come to the courtyard once a month.
Okay.
Now, today maybe say no, so was one bahana what hona was it will be separate one, or baby was it Missy Afunboko? Oh no, baby, was it me in Funboko? Say ever for William Ha.
Maria Mama Yakoran not train.
Forts and castles in Ankasa. You were a mobile 3 different kinds. According to the ESR was the only the Portuguese forts are different from Dutch and British forts.
Okay.
In the 1700s, you know, na onam the wash slaves na sit at that don't know. Na Portuguese forts, you know, say ekoma and watching as a woman in the 1700s, you know, wasn't the modify forts a few words, you know.
Okay.
Inti seba for William instead of say Cape Coast and Messiafuni hina mafroma na impeyinfu hina we together.
Okay.
But ever for William Messiafu mafroma from 10 to 14 or one dungeon and sana Messiafu impeyinfu from 15 to 25 years or one dungeon. And sana sabi and when I work there when you want to buy hours me ekeno and once we one dungeon. Now and when you want to buy hours, you know, they were selected mainly from the slave women. And this is done when the women are taking their bath. The officers will stand at the top of the top and choose among them whilst they are looking at their bodies. Che the wurugwara wan shafi bibi ankata wo tina abrofo ngingina soro ho to wash no what's your selection. The man when over select one that said be when you want by hours, you know, and when I'm putting a woman come to them mark and wogwar.
Okay.
The remaining females will wash once in 2 weeks, and the men washed once a month. I can't easy man.
Yeah.
Onam the winter ma one bar courtyard hat and tata didn't see. The most food what I was mohon a pan on a biscuit, and that will tighten the stomach to eliminate constant feces. Therefore, toilet facilities were provided in the corners of the dungeons, both men and women. In my uniform, they wash once a month. Until once a month, they wash and on the woman come over courtyard. So the indigenous men have no contact with their indigenous women when they are kept in the forts and castles.
So I think mainly activity are not called what court high wogwar.
Baby, wogwar.
The bathhouse.
Messi, I know one bathhouse.
Okay.
In the main one bathhouse.
Okay.
Okay. Even the soldiers, whites in here, they have their bathhouse.
Okay. Let me break this down. I think he was trying to explain how they separated the men from the women, and then how the soldiers were selecting some of the women that they would want to have sexual intercourse with. And then he was explaining it in such a way that you will find the women, the soldiers, on top of the building, whilst the women are taking their bath, then assessing their bodies, and then looking at how beautiful they are. They will make selections on the ones that they would want to enjoy and have sex with them back in those days. Fort Williams, Nyama Kodo Hapa. Yahu pictures be or her. When they binum wechi a pay. Abanadan and then one more treats one of them. They put them into that kind of inhuman,
in the them easy ono say was one about 40 her ono the ono onkodupi o send there was one about no we feel the we bibia over there where that wobo ho ban but as in there onam there was one kai edwumazini nti we bibi there they try to eliminate the weaker ones no
okay
nti ewa inkutuma as survive a punishment in Wahano. Either you die, or if you have the strength, you join the ship.
Okay.
In Sines Manukra, one more papa, one more nsu, one more dam. But at the sin Cassini, no codru war, baby, a wobokona waka ye jumano. Ibe washing day, washing or plantation or Ibia or your bono. What did honor your bona? One first spell. Wabasano, waboshu, wabon so most of the maltreatment happens on the plantations in the Americas and in the Caribbean. But I hear years in some maltreatment in Woma. What capture will Ibia Chad and now other nations now when you name Ribano. And the maltreatment or a hazy ebaha a comchi ingwa. The rooms are full. The men almost about 400. The women almost about 400. The girls and the boys almost about 200 and 200 in that small dungeon. And so the suffocation, unhygienic condition, and lack of proper food is their major concern. When you are selected, you bold in a MP. In fact, was selection, the soldiers are not allowed. In fact, the people were here as military men. It's the same as at the barracks.
Okay.
So we have the until you were soldiers,
ranks,
you were ranks, until you were soldiers, you were officers, and you were governor. The women were mostly used by the officers and the governors.
David,
I never reckoned any soldier who had an affair with a woman here.
A
governor and an officer.
High-ranking member.
Yes. Na say mutum mezibiati odo kakra wodam contact no.
Yeah.
Wodam contact no between the European officers no and the black women no. And the yebenya mixed race.
Okay.
On the Gold Coast.
On half caste.
We refer to them as half caste generation.
Okay. Let me ask this question. In current times, modern days, we have a lot of people with foreign names. Are these people as a result of the intercourse between the black woman and the governors. Because Bonhu in the Ghana, your friend, Gorgeous Beg.
Nine, during the intercourse, to them, my from a boom, the half caste generation. You were British for one number. I work at a British is in. You were Dutch for one number. I work at a Dutch for one is in. You were Portuguese for one number. I work at a Portuguese for one is in. For example, when we talk of the British had names like Mills, McLean, McCarthy, Bannerman, Smith, York, Hope,
Ashman,
Ferguson, Peterson, and Dawson. Then we had Governor Meredith. We had Governor Cruikshank. So these names.
But I noticed something when you were mentioning the names. Okay.
Then we had the Dutch names. Like the Van.
Yeah.
So we have Van Dyke, we have Van der Poel, we have Van S, we have Last, we have Duncan, we have Lutrot, another, then others. Then the D. So D'Souza, De Heer, Portuguese names. We call it De Heer.
Yeah.
Portuguese names. So they are with us. Another one common Portuguese name is Nunu. The Portuguese will refer to it as Nunox.
Okay.
But we call it Nunu. But these names, are common at the people themselves lived. For example, Dutch names are common in Elmina, Sekondi, and Osherfort area in Accra. British names are very common in Cape Coast, Anomabu, Winneba, Jamesfort area. So them naughty.
We are learning, pa. Yes, you have to, pa. I mean, pick your paper, then write something down.
Well, for their mothers benefited from stone buildings.
Okay.
And see, mommy, no one you want to waste abodanamo. Na kutinem. I
was about asking that question there. Sembesiafun, when you want to have a friend, when you sana, what's one call another what behind? Behind.
Oh, no.
But then they take up responsibility. They mean a many or buying.
They take up responsibility.
And what from a friend that one man
the children were the first to receive the first European education on the coast.
Okay.
CCR Manurka say the half caste generation are very, very, very dynamic politically, socially. It's a branch called politics, ma.
Let's go there.
Obi a busy yendo president our friend John Evans at Mills.
Yes.
And son CCR your concrana your Oko Van der Poel.
Yes.
Who represent the Dutch, and Oko Van Bannerman.
Yes.
Who represent the English. And they are. CCA didn't some Abu Boy say most of the corporations, departments, and all this now. You hear the Van Dyke, you hear the this, you hear the Duncan. You hear the names.
Yes.
So
I think Central Regional former Minister Kwame Duncan.
He
is from
Anomabu.
So that clearly tells us that Honorable Kwame Duncan. Nasa. No papa no maze where you're British. In a 1 year warm mammy no share.
But Mamuncho Muhasu.
Yanko.
Ansana say Eziba Yankasa in Yanun Krofunuma. I refer to these people as the second citizens of the colony.
Okay.
Also the Yabakade are Brofuni first citizens. The second citizen of the colony. And when I want to go through the when you ska, wopede where you were abrofisam.
Okay.
And once was it was it to one number do. Inti obi wo ho a friend no eja obo on our friend about Roxon. Obi wo friend eja kuntu. And our friend about Blankson. Obi wo friend eja yaw on our friend about Yorson. If you are our friend Eje Kofija And our friend about Fireson.
Wow. I know there is a man called Quatson. Quatson no thing.
No, so the man.
Okay, there was Samson. I call Samson. I was a fool. Yeah, but showing baby, I will fee.
Into the since no so.
But it is quite obvious that with our coastal line on, there was some funny more.
Oh yeah, no quite.
There's, I mean, Ekason, I was away the obey film piano.
Oh yeah, no quite. In Hana Mbrofono, What's
What's the name?
Into Hana, a coastal line and Brofono, Wobon bra.
Now let me ask this question. Bibiara what we are seeing here, you want advantage and disadvantage. Is there a single advantage that we can talk about there? Abrofuna what be now, what be established them in your main. Nye film. Because disadvantages in it or those will be brave. We can't even count them. But advantage bang, no, you're able to make I mean, mbaya what be imu.
The more question you be saying, ni ya no years in pa. O sende nkrofo pii onam eje na tete inaza nyanna nanum wo fam nti won pede ye kan bibia de sabe slave trade no so or the advantages be or the bay. But say ye busy no koroma ti de mere kan ya bibia ye kan papa na ya kan bon so papa kakra slave trade no the bay e bi na ye America heni nuanom half caste free
Yeah.
Onam hono do education bay ma eba no ma bo ha Dr. Kwejiri Agri Ekum Ferguson Ekugwaya Philip Kwaku nom nazi ehun wo benya akonja enye ho ankoten even President John Mahama ne papa kura no krapo was onye scholarship abrofo was man ma okusun azi wa abrochi nti education itself came out from the slavery and son is ono to nchana oya no kwa slaves no were brave even their journey to the Americas no nya agor on the phone but individually no so ye will be no ma and once wo kwa America wo ko bobra mu osi hon ye mesisi a wan na no woti ye e wa America. For example, Venture Smith. This Venture Smith in what captured was Chad. He goes by an African name Brutir or Brutia. So captured from Chad or before Fort William. I think 1837 as a slaver. What do you call America? Rhode Island. Okay, 7 masters about 3. If you are now friend venture, it be autonomous, no friend venture. So if you are no woman is in venture. The last master on your catene, no friend Smith, no offer Smith or the come until obey venture Smith. Obobra, no brunevia, you know. He was a tycoon farmer. He had almost 100 plots of land and 3 habitable dwelling houses, apart from his trolling boats. So the man was an agriculturist, but Obi was captured or Chad, Obafa as a slave, or America. He ended up of having 100 plots in Connecticut. It is the state of Connecticut belonged to this man. He was from Africa. Yes, or not to China. Your countries are wa crop up and now wo slave trade in them. Waba. Many of them.
Yes.
Some were dozen. And all these countries came out from the slave trade. As you see, say, one president, minister of this, minister of finance, yes, minister of defense, minister of this, are all blacks whose parents or ancestors were slaves. Presently, through the slave trading, I would say black man controls almost half of the world. See, there
was an advantage.
So
just that we have chosen to cover that. Because of the pain. Let's tackle this. There is a word on the street that shape the Bible bear no na northern sa it's a bay. Abrofia wo bay wo boto nyimpe. What's a religion a bay? What's the Christianity what's a bay? Another what the other is some na what's a bay. Who also na wasn't saying what's a bay. Let us know the connection between our slave masters and other Abrofina wo bay in a religion. How they were able to transfer religion to the natives, and because yenyim there yet hana nye Christian some na wa ha na ye we your own way of worship na what a different religion, different mentality, what's brain. People are saying that out of the religion enyen musisiano already African ya, because if what's a major problem so our African fire religion. Also, tell us about how religion has connection with our slave masters.
Most of the oil no quar. Abrofuna nkasa was the Christianity was the bay. But more me there in the castles in Angasa and the forts no was CC Abusumudo.
Oh, okay.
Inti Fort William ha ya wana nabaka.
Okay.
Ya wana nankatia.
Okay.
Ekugwe ya busumo. Eku Elmina busumo. Eku Ankrana busumo. But in can busum pain sempe.
Okay.
Or Osha Fort.
Okay.
Na Yerusiaze.
Yes.
Inti oye yaka bibia no ozi henem pain funsu nya. Abrofon wa capitalize on it.
Okay.
Na ibini dam religion ya eriken. Abrofon be no na ye wo ahankasa yesom a yesom. Capitalization ne there. Abrofon hu ne there sebi ye chomboa. To some excess pono sebi oye busum bi po ho a yetum yokunyipa. Yes, man. One capitalization.
Yeah.
Mpochonches masa. Abrofo capitalize on this. Even I didn't see in a one yame. Sabi wabosum na. Or the sabi was sacrificing yimpa. And yen yame. Yen for yimpa man. Only your
yeah.
Now I heard we as the papa ni na osande Abrofo wabaha. Intela washe. Is beno wudi. Libya was so different from our local people. So the capitalization was both on our own religion, on our style of living, and so in Zaman no okakawa na yen local people no one would Abrofuni they appear to them so different. Inti boba kache hon bia no because Abrofi wujina hwentala wo hye hwezibone wuti na ekokroma. Nti Ibn Asam in the Sawadrin or Yewika waka ankafa. Nti that was the capitalization. Abrofon capitalize in Zemebia ya no onko ye mayan. No was the introduce religion. For in San Americano, afi wo bohunde sawoba na wo kwa nanam mu ho a or there was a snap was it then was it called
that tsena Abrofon be na ye wo snapper.
Nchi yenyin sepo a yenyin shina apopo anchi na nsan ho nso apetishi nti ibia rekọ
wo be na wo be chen
nti ibia rekọ na ho a ibia za apetishi ibia bodan bokol ezeboko nti ya hon worba na nyo worba na was jin na shina apono was be no ni ibia hon was be sha shina apono was be sha a name nti the visit to the king. Or the yezi insa yeziko. Onosuna ozi insano ozi yeden ozi bai. But today ma bibiano yakede sisi anayankasa religion no yafan so high.
Because Abrofan
was religion in the beno. When was what time bebre were religion no dam there Tuesday moko bompay, Wednesday moko bompay, Thursday moko bompay, Friday moko bompay. Every time ni be ponaza yejuma neza piskeza mo. Baby, religion is not like that. The baby Debbie. Na mpene krobon wo achabudem I don't know obo muska ejuma na eba ye no and yankopon bo hu mobo me ejuma no aye den wa akodo. So you have time for the work. Na se kwesida ana me menda yankopon na nka se wa about wo there oh hu me ejuma for them days na them day hu fansom you go and worship na anyen but my brother was the ben yanka sa yezibia kaka ho mo wa ye mo.
Let me ask this question. Do you think that the Christianity that Abrofan is a ben, it is quite different from what we are doing now?
Honestly, my makain. Today, my Americano, or send Incano, Portuguese for what the Catholic bay. And yet, the Bibian and Grofuko, a dame walk or won't
1 ton oil.
They be in some more winner, they be when you be. But in the Yankasa,
one sow seed.
Nihina.
$1
Portuguese water. The Portuguese water, no crapo. No, manana. I'll go chapel onto collection. Because we know what you're here for. And the Catholic has benefited from Portuguese sponsorship even since today.
Would you say there it is the charismatic side and major problems in war? Because looking at it from your saying in the Orthodox side, Orthodox and traditional churches like Methodist and the Anglican and the Zions and those churches, we are not facing such problems.
Oh no, Mumsy.
There, Sabi, Sofu Binyo Bine Yere Doru Guaro Bine Yere Nadami Yamayamani na.
Onu Mumsy. Because ends the method is Sofu. Or that's the American or Kugoro Bine and today Roman Sofu.
That was not the Christianity.
David.
It's been swapped, it's been changed to something else.
Cra. Then wabe religion has become money. Wabe is kasam. Inti
Nisken to Mukwasa.
Damunoti, Adi Obakachiro, Nori Adam, into Dabibia in Eruko, Dabibia and Eruko, Amadabibia at collection. But in Canon, onto them, Yakwaswell, Sunday, Yabefi.
And it looks like Assad now, witchcraft were home than even before.
Oh no, Mommy. Inti the more work at your the more work what you mean.
I think we've had enough. You take us round and show us some of these places.
Okay.
What it was used for.
You.
Inti Yanko.
Look at it.